Hello and welcome to T as well. My name is T. I'm a final year med student and I've passed my final exams for year 6. Today I want to share one of the resources that genuinely helped me throughout med school and especially in years 5 and 6. As someone who struggled a lot at the start of this degree and gradually improved in phase 3, I know what it's like to feel overwhelmed by resources and lost on where to start. This video is sponsored by Med School Bootcamp, so thank you, but I've actually been using their resources since I was in 3rd year of my 6-year degree. I'm going to break down exactly why Bootcamp helped me so much and how it can make your study life a lot easier as well. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. When you first start med school, you get bombarded by resources. So notes from previous students, question banks, apps, YouTube videos. It's honestly all too much. I personally felt super overwhelmed by resources and what to stick to as well, but Med School Bootcamp nicely integrates everything for you. It is the only all-in-one step 1 resource, which means that if you're planning on applying for residency in the US, it's even more valuable. On Bootcamp, you do get access to over 1,000 high-yield preclinical videos, over 8,000 recall questions and quizzes after each lesson, all in one easy-to-use platform. It personally made my studying so much more convenient and organized. Like I said, if you're interested or studying for Step 1, Bootcamp has also over 2,200 Step 1 questions and also a mock USMLE Step 1 board exams to help you simulate test day. What I personally liked was that they have board style breakdown videos. So they don't just give you the right answer, but they walk you through how to think through these step style questions. It's important because Step 1 and med school exams aren't just about memorizing facts. You can get by, however, it's more important to understand the first principles, which will then help you understand why one option is right but the other option is wrong. This is a lesson I learned the hard way very early on, as I purely memorized and wasn't reasoning from first principles, which caused me to not really understand what I was learning that well, and it also caused me to perform quite poorly in my tests towards the start of my degree. Now, one of my biggest challenges was finding time to study during my rotations. Between ward rounds, waiting for cancelled toots, and long commutes, it actually all does add up. I know some of you are commuting over 1 hour to uni or college. I use Bootcamp's app to help me study on the go. It's available for both iOS and Android, so I just downloaded it on my iPhone. I used Bootcamp's app to do quick MCQs when I was commuting, waiting for the train, waiting for rounds to start, or when hospital toots got cancelled. And although it might not seem like much, the time actually does add up, and so does the amount of MCQs and the knowledge you get as well. As a learner, I was often told of the importance of active recall and of reviewing the content. But it's difficult to make Anki cards on your own because it's just so time consuming, in addition to the medical lectures that you need to go that are often compulsory. I use Bootcamp's built-in review system when doing MCQs. So every time I went through a question or a concept, I would mark the question as either learning, reviewing, or mastered. This automatically creates a personalized spaced repetition system. Instead of you having to keep track of what to review next, Bootcamp automatically does it for you. And so then I would revisit the questions that I marked as learning, and then that would improve my knowledge. Another feature that I'll show you is how I use the Med School Bootcamp on my phone as well. As you can see, I have my brightness all the way up and you can see the app there, so let's click on it. I'm logged in now, but as you can see, you scroll down to see the questions that you can tag as either learning, reviewing, or mastered, and then you can click on these to generate them. It will load and kind of generate all the questions. This is an example of one of the questions that I tagged as learning. Here's me answering the question. As you can see, I got the question right, and this is where you get the option to tag it as either learning, reviewed, or mastered. The green one. It's tagged it for me and then it's moved on to the next question. Doing the next question, correct as well. So now I'm going to tag it again as mastered. Because I chose to review my learning cards, which are the red ones, it's automatically tagged it for me and I can just review it all in one swoop, which is really useful. And then I can just re-tag it like I said before. Finally, I found anatomy really difficult, especially in my first 2 years of med school, and I struggled with visualizing structures, especially on a cadaver versus on a textbook. However, Bootcamp does have this feature that I used a lot called Anatomy Bootcamp, which shows you cadaver pictures and cadaver MCQs as well. I find this really useful because identifying structures from the textbooks is actually quite different from identifying structures from cadavers, which often have anatomical variations of their own. It also made it easier for for me to connect what I was seeing in my practical cadaver labs to the theory that I needed to learn, and later on to apply it to real life scenarios, such as during my surgery term where I was scrubbed in the OT on colorectal surgeries. Anatomy bootcamp was useful because the surgeons that I was scrubbed in would often ask me anatomy questions, and sometimes I would get stumped. When that did happen, I would come back, do those questions, and then my knowledge would increase as well. I plan on continuing to use this resource throughout internship because I do want to strengthen my foundational knowledge of anatomy as well. Finally, bootcamp does have 24-hour live TA support. What this means is that you can message them at any time if you're stuck on a question or on a concept, and a teaching assistant will try and walk you through it. This is something I really liked because I would often have questions when I study, and I don't want to always bombard my study buddies with random questions all the time. It's also important because I wanted quick and accurate answers to the many questions that I had. So if you're a medical student, whether you're prepping for step 1 or you're an Australian medical student, Med School Bootcamp covers it all in one central place. I do wish I used it earlier in year 1 and 2, but even from using it, especially within years 5 and 6, it's made such a huge difference to how I studied and also how confident I felt going into exams, which translated into my exam results in my final year. If you want to try it out, you can use my code HelloTeasWorld for 10% off when you sign up, and I'll put the link here, but also in the description box as well. So to be honest, Med School Bootcamp is one of the few resources that I stuck to and used throughout my med school degree, and I do feel that it contributed a lot to my marks, especially in my final year. So that's all for today's video. So thank you for watching, and good luck with your studies, whether you're applying to med school, in med school right now, starting work as a doctor soon, or whether you're in a completely different field altogether as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions at all about my experience or how I use bootcamp day to day as well, and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye bye.